Gentlemen, today we're at Ball Family Farm, who is having a rabbitry built for them, custom rabbitry built for them. And we'll start our questions today with Mr. Brett Franzen, the owner of T-Bark Construction, that is building this rabbitry. Here's Mr. Brett right there. Morning, Brett.
Morning, Doug. How you doing today?
I'm good. So let's talk about this rabbitry. So how large is this facility?
This one is 10 by 30.
How long does it take to build it?
Well, about 3 days.
How much? Well, we'll talk about cost in a little bit. How much concrete per
Well, it's
support
all
hole?
relative to the ground that you're in. And here we got a layer of sand on top of some black jumbo with a clay base. We want to get in that clay base when we do this. So we're about 2 foot deep. So it took about 3 bags per hole.
So let's talk about the rafters for a second. Normally, rafters wouldn't run that direction. They would run north to south, right?
On this one, what we did, we got a combination of things going on here. Our beams are supporting our roof, and our roof is in turn going to support the rabbit cages underneath, which is why we ran the rafters side to side instead of top to bottom.
And how are the cages being supported?
Well, you come in here. What we did is we put our support braces where they're flush with the sides of the beam here, so we can set our rabbit cage up against this, screw it, fasten it here, and the same on the side. That keeps it from rocking side to side. And then we're going to hang it from these rafters, which is placed to be right at the front of the cage, and this one's right at the back of the cage. So it'll hang from here and attach to this framing to keep it from moving side to side.
And are these cages spaced apart, or are they all in one line?
Well, so we do a combination of things. This customer wanted to have 20 cages, 5 and 5. Yeah, 20 cages. So what we did, instead of having one run of 10 cages, if you have a rabbit get sick or you need to separate them if they're fighting with each other, you want to create that separation. So we designed this to have one set of cages that's 5 cages long, and it'll come to about right here. And then another one will be 5 cages going that away. This gives you the ability to separate the rabbits if they get sick, which we've all had that happen before, and you don't want to press it through the whole flock.
So when you're building an outdoor structure like this, what type of lumber should they use?
Well, anything that's going in contact with the ground, you want to use a treated lumber. And these are treated 4x4s. And then we did these also, members are treated because the weather can get to them when it rains and whatnot like that. Everything above this point is just nominal lumber. We did yellow pine for structure, and yellow pine for structure up here as well. It's a lot stronger than a white pine, so it'll carry the load and span the distance and not sag.
So in these external structures like this, what type of paint should be used?
Any good quality paint. We prefer to use Sherwin-Williams. They stand behind their product and they've been around a long time.
So all oil-based?
I think nowadays you can use water-based that have the same qualities as oil-based, but it's just a good quality paint.
Any other advice or thoughts on building a structure like this?
Hire a professional.
Oh, come on now. Why do we want to do that?
Well, we've been to many situations where we come in, a homeowner started something and they just get in over their head. And it's the little things that we do here. Like here, these are bolted. We got tie blocks that come through and tie the rafters together, as well as we put these hurricane clips, that's what these are called, to help tie everything down, keep the wind from blowing off. And the biggest thing is keeping it square and keeping it plumb. It's a lot harder. If you don't do it every day, it's a lot harder than you think.
Gotcha. So what does a structure like this cost to build?
You know, it depends on how big it's gonna be, where you're at in the country, what kind of ground you got to dig in and all of that. But I would say on an average, probably about $1,000 in materials and maybe about $2,000 in labor.
So $3,000 for production, rabbitry.
I would think so.
And we'll go to Mr. Ball next and get his production numbers.
There you go.
Thank you very much for your time today, brother.
You bet. See you on the next one.
On the next one. Here at Ball Family Farm, and we're going to show this video while I ask Mr. Ball the questions. Mr. Ball, what caused you to get into the rabbit business?
Well, back in the mid 80s, my mother was the one that had a rabbitry out here. She started with 3 does and 1 buck, and it developed into a 250 cage capacity rabbitry. And she was selling rabbits all through the county, and I started helping her with it as well as with my children. And that rabbitry was there until the year 2000. It got older and illnesses set in, and so it kind of stayed dormant. And the rabbitry that was in the back is no longer, usable. So I decided to build a small one just for consumption of rabbit meat for myself and family. And then now I'm expanding because I see that there's a good market for it.
What breed of rabbits are you going to raise?
Well, I have some Californians at the moment, but I also have a breeding stock of the Tomwook rabbits, which stands for Texas A&M University at Kingsville. That was developed over the years as a composite breed that is specifically designed for South Texas. They're good breeders, good mothers. They have large litters. They have a good bone-to-meat ratio, and they can tolerate the heat very well.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to film your cages after we get done speaking.
Yes.
I'll film the cages going into the rabbitry, and I'll go and shoot some of the rabbits as well. How many rabbits will your new rabbitry hold?
Well, it's a 20 cage capacity, and of course some of those I need for fattening out pens and stuff like that. So we'll probably have a total of about 15 breeders, and then we plan to add on more cages in the future, build another rabbitry.
Are you going to sell live animals, or are you going to process them for meat, or both?
Both.
Both. Do you happen to know what your feed costs are going to be, your estimated feed costs?
We haven't calculated that yet, but also because here at Ball Family Farm, we raise vegetables, so the animals will be eating from the garden as well as a good pellet feed, and we also feed them hay. So I haven't calculated all the costs yet because I don't have an established breeding herd yet, but I'm sure it'll be very profitable.
So you don't, because you're starting with the Tomwooks, which are going to be your primary line, you don't have an estimated P&L yet, right?
Not yet.
That's perfect. Well, I appreciate you letting us come out and film the building of the rabbitry, and I'm going to walk around and shoot those cages you had custom made, and then I'll go film the rabbits.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. You need me to move?
So these cages were custom built specifically for this rabbitry. There's four links of cages that will go into the rabbitry into 4 different sections, as Mr. Franzen was talking about from T-Bar K, with spacing in between for quarantining and the separation of breeding stock. Now we'll move over to the rabbits. And I know he's got some Californians and the Tomwooks. These are, of course, Californian crosses here and in the back. These new ones right here are the Tomwooks. Pretty rabbits, good breeding stock.
Strong, Cross.
Huh?
You're getting strong.